Okay.
Welcome back, Christine.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Great. So, I know last session I kind of did this in the middle, but I'm actually going to have you fill out the ORS to kind of start off the session. And I wanted to show you kind of where you've been throughout the times that we've met.
Okay.
So, you can see here, Christine, that for the ORS you started off at 17.8, and after our last session you're up to a 26.6.
Okay.
So you brought yourself up to above cutoff.
Okay.
And then the SRS, our session rating scale, has stayed about the same in like the 32 range. So this to me it sounds like things are going quite well. So I just wanted to give you a visual of kind of where you've gone from one week to the next.
Okay.
So I'll just have you fill this out for this week. And this is session 5.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the first one, so individually, so tell me a little bit about this past week and kind of how you've been feeling.
I've been feeling good. I finished all my math assignments, all my homework actually. This is the first time that I can remember everything within a long time.
Great.
And I think it's because I've been staying in at lunch and doing some major assignments. But then
has Ruby been helping you with that? Yeah?
But I actually did some on my own too.
Oh, great.
So it's actually been nice to get some of those equations and stuff that we've been working on my own.
That's really great. Good for you.
Thank you.
And how has that made you feel with being able to not need as much help from Ruby and being a little bit more independent with your schoolwork and getting it in on time?
It felt good. It was just little things that I was missing. I always thought I was so, I don't know, stupid is the right word, but in math for sure I felt that way. So it's kind of neat that it was just little things that I was missing.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels good to get things.
Great. And how have things been going from the next section with interpersonally, so family and close relationships? Why don't we start with family?
Well, with family it's been good. We just, have been going to my basketball, and then my foster parent's older boy, he plays hockey, so we've been going to things with him, and I actually feel like part of they're including me in like parts of the family and that sort of thing. So that's been nice.
How does it make you feel when you are playing basketball and you look up in the stands and you see your family there?
Feels good. Yeah. I know they're not really, not my birth mother and father and stuff, but they're so nice to go and they cheer, and when I see them cheering for me and I hear them cheering for their real son, and it's kind of the same. So it feels nice to have that.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad that they go to your games, because sometimes not all parents, foster parents, real parents, or step parents, whatever, some parents just don't make that effort, right? Life can get busy and some parents have lots going on for themselves, so that, you're right, it does tell me that it does seem like you're belonging, you're part of the family, and that they really care about you. So that's really great.
Yeah.
And close relationships. So why don't we start with a little bit, tell me a bit about how things went with Desiree this week, because last week we ended off with you having a conversation with her about how she's been feeling, because you said that she was feeling a bit off and you were worried that it was about your new friendship with Beth. Tell me a bit about how that conversation went.
So first it didn't start off so well. So I did confront her about it, and I just said, "Are you mad that I have a new friend?" And she told me she was feeling left out.
Okay.
And even though I never thought that I would get mad and yell at her, I did. I got really mad. And we talked about, that I didn't think I'd get mad at her, but I did. And I just kind of stormed off on her and said that it wasn't fair that she was treating me that way, and kind of left it for a couple days. But then, because we're such close friends, I was upset about it for a couple days, but she did come to my house one night to talk about it again. And it was very easy for me to ask for her forgiveness, to say sorry. And especially because so much time had passed, I was feeling really bad about getting mad at her, and it was just kind of that same whole thing again. And me getting mad and then feeling bad about it. But the good thing about her is that she's always been really close to me, and she is so nice that she forgave me. And then she actually apologized for not letting me, have that time with a new friend and that sort of thing. So I think it was bad in the beginning, but I think it was good because there really was something going on there. I was nervous to talk to her because I didn't want it to be about me having another friend. And it was about me having another friend, but now it's kind of all, it's all, we dealt with it, we talked about it, and that sort of thing. And I don't get that funny feeling around her now that there's something there, so I think that because we talked about it, so that's why, it could have been lower, but then, it could have been higher because it's worked out now.
Because you did resolve everything with Desiree. So, how did that make you feel when you initiated that conversation with Desiree, and when she did in fact say that she was feeling left out and she was upset because you had a new friend? How did that make you feel?
Well, at first I got really mad at her because I didn't think it was fair, just because I've not had a lot of friends, and because I wasn't trying to leave her out. But then after I left, I felt, when I looked at it, maybe she was being left out a little bit, even though I wasn't doing it on purpose. Maybe I wasn't giving her the attention that we're used to having. So, yeah, I kind of, just thought I needed to think of what she was feeling too. So,
with empathy.
I guess so. I think it's easy with her because she isn't a good friend because she's close to me. I don't want her to feel upset. So, I kind of talked with Ruby about it one day at lunch at school.
Oh, that's good.
Just what had happened and that sort of thing. So she was the one to kind of point out that, maybe she was feeling upset, and that she's allowed to feel that way just as much as I'm allowed to have a new friend and that sort of thing. So it was good. It was nice to talk to. Like I said before, she's kind of like a big sister.
Yeah, I never mentioned that before, and I'm really pleased to hear that you use Ruby as kind of a support. Because the nice thing about Ruby, kind of like you said, is that she's not really in your friends group because she's a little bit older. So that kind of makes her more that neutral person where you can go to her and maybe you don't have to be as fearful of her being a bit biased towards maybe certain friends' perspective or your perspective, right? So you feel like Ruby's advice is actually quite meaningful and helpful. So and I'm good for you for going to her and asking for her perspective. That's really good.
Well, she kind of brought it up because she noticed, because usually Desiree would walk me to the place where we knew at lunch, and she hadn't the last few times. So
she kind of knew something was going on.
Which I thought was nice of her too.
Yeah.
Because she's supposed to help me with math.
That is nice of her. That's good. And then, so when you became upset with Desiree and you stormed off and you it sounds like you kind of reacted to the situation in a way that you kind of wish that maybe you reacted to it differently, right? You kind of maybe resorted back to, not the old way of doing things, but you didn't really, that's not the way you want to handle things, is what I heard from you. So when you went back and you reflected, did you think of other ways that you maybe could have handled that situation?
Yeah, I think sometimes instead of listening, I just wanted, I know walking away calmly is one way, but I like to just walk away from it, and it always comes out as me being angry. It kind of stops everything and I can walk away.
And what is it about walking away? Why do you resort to that?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it before, but I think sometimes I just don't want to deal with it. And I have to. And it's easier when it's people that I don't care about as much, but then after, when it's someone I care about, I feel really bad. And I know that it's not what I should do.
So it sounds like the walking away piece is a way to avoid the conflict and to avoid that uncomfortable position of having to, whether it be stick up for yourself or having an argument with someone, it's just easier to walk away. And you know what, I think that's actually quite normal. I think a lot of people do that. It's kind of that, have you ever heard of fight or flight?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, where some people resort to getting right in there and fighting the situation, or some people just walk away from it. And sometimes that ties into kind of what we call our survival instincts. And maybe your walking away has just been a way that you have dealt with other situations in your life. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And you know what, I think sometimes it's just easier to not deal with it.
But you're recognizing that walking away doesn't make it go away. Yeah.
Because then I kept thinking about it
because you care so much about her and she's a good friend. So in my mind, I'm thinking this might have been a great opportunity for you to use your feelings book. Did you get an opportunity to try that out? And maybe with this situation, did you?
Well, I did some of the feelings in the book, but it wasn't with me at school.
Okay.
So maybe it's never occurred to me to take it with me. So I left it at home.
Okay.
So I did look at it afterwards, but it was too late by then. So.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it can be used at any point. But did you kind of go through it and kind of identify the feelings you were feeling when you had that, I guess, conflict with Desiree and how you could have dealt with it?
So after last time, because we had the one situation with my foster parents' younger boy, when I did use it right and told him to go away, so I had that one written down, and then I wrote down one with my teacher where I got really mad and then walked away, and then it wasn't a good outcome. So I looked at both of them and realized that maybe I should have handled it differently and just told Desiree right there, you know, I just need to walk away right now and I'll talk to you later or something. I could have said something else instead of just getting mad and taking it out on her. So.
And you know what, I think sometimes that when we're in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's hard to think of what should I do instead, and those strategies that we've been talking about are things that you've been thinking of. So know that it's okay, that sometimes not everyone handles every situation in a perfect way, but this is how we learn, right? So it sounds like you have been learning from past situations where you just walk away and you haven't said anything, and then it can sometimes make it worse, right? So you said that Desiree came back, she came to your house and you guys worked through things. So tell me a little bit about that conversation and how that went.
So when she first came to the house, I felt bad, so I guess I was a little bit embarrassed, and because I had not really dealt with her. She's seen me do that to other people, but I had never done it to her, so and I was a bit scared that she wouldn't forgive me or that sort of thing, but she kind of started it off by telling me that it was okay that it happened and that she understands and that sort of thing. She's really close with her mom, so I'm sure she talked with her mom because she tells her a lot. So you could tell that she was kind of also wanting to be sorry for. It wasn't her fault I got mad, but she said sorry for making me feel like I couldn't hang out with Beth as well and that sort of thing. So it only lasted about 10 minutes and we kind of moved on and then we just hung out and laughed and stuff that we hadn't done in that week and a half.
So things kind of went back to normal.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Nice. And then tell me a little bit about the feelings between the argument and her coming to you, because you said to me that you were scared that she was never going to forgive you. Was that kind of a common thought that you felt kind of in that in-between time?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to be the one, even though Ruby had told me that we should work through it and that kind of gave me Beth's side, or Desiree's side. I didn't want to be the one to bring it up, so I'm kind of glad that she did, because I didn't want to bring it up just in case she didn't want to forgive me or she was still mad at me or that sort of thing. So, because I feel so bad after I yell at people, I just didn't want to see her for a little while, so I was glad she came to my house because I don't know if I would have been able to do it.
I think that one thing that's important, because there are going to be situations where you maybe respond to things, like I said, that you, in a way that you don't really want to. But sometimes it's important to think that a positive outcome might take place, right? So it sounds like you went right to, she's never going to forgive me, we're never going to be friends again, and then so that kind of led to, well, I'm not going to talk to her. Do you think you can maybe shifted your thinking to, well, maybe we can work this out? That you maybe would have approached her and tried to talk things through?
I think so. Yeah, I never thought, I guess I just keep thinking, because it's so bad and because I think I'm so bad when I do that sort of thing, she's probably going to think it was horrible too and that she won't forgive me for it. So. Because the way I yelled at her, it was really mean, and I know that, so of course she must have thought I was pretty mean too. So.
Well, and I'm sure that there was lots of feelings of, because you have such a good relationship with her, those feelings of guilt and oh my goodness, just lose my friend, and right? So it can be hard when you really care about the person to not assume the worst sometimes, right? But I am really happy to hear that you guys were able to work things through. And how did you feel during the conversation when you guys worked things out?
Felt relieved. Just because her and I haven't had really, really big arguments like that before. And so I was just kind of worried that it wouldn't go back. But now I can tell that it's back to normal, and she's walking me to my sessions with Ruby, and we hang out after school, and she's even come out with Beth and I, so I think it's pretty much back to normal.
So when you say you felt relieved, this kind of tells me that time in between there's maybe a lot of feelings of tension, or what did you kind of feel in between?
Mostly scared. I think because she's just been the closest person to me. I don't know what it would be like without her. and just because we do so much together, I just kind of wondered, when am I going to go now, and that sort of thing.
So lots of feelings of uncertainty and not really knowing what your friendship is going to look like.
Yeah.
But then once you had the conversation, that feeling of and things have gone back to normal.
Yeah.
It's great. So I think, was there anything else for the interpersonal family close relationship score that you would want to chat about?
No, I think that was good.
Okay. So the next section is socially, so school, friendships, that kind of thing. So this one's a little bit lower. So how have things been going kind of socially this past week?
So that whole thing with the fight with Desiree and that sort of
So that
thing,
kind of that score. Okay.
Yeah, and then on the basketball team, this week there was just a play in which I kind of maybe threw the ball to the wrong team. I made the wrong play, and so I don't know if the teammates were mad, so just kind of feeling, because usually I'm really good in those kind of instances, but I'm just unsure of how the team's feeling against me now, or I didn't say anything, or they still were the same after the game, but I just kind of wonder, because it was, such a play that made us lose instead of winning, so I'm just feeling kind of on the team just a bit different. So well, I'm just sad that, or feeling like maybe I let them down, or because I don't usually do that kind of thing in sports. It's usually my strength and something that I've always felt confident in, so it was a big disappointment to me. So
it sounds like it was more because your teammate didn't say anything.
No.
So
it's coach.
So it's yourself that you disappointed.
Maybe. I guess so. Okay. Just because it's usually what I'm so good at.
So because you're so good at it, you're not allowed to make mistakes?
I didn't think, well, I just shouldn't. Because it's always been just kind of my thing. So I have always gotten that, I fail a test. I don't do that sort of stuff. But to make such a big mistake and a big thing, that kind of. So I just felt kind of uncomfortable being at the practices and that sort of thing. So.
Did you feel like your teammates treated you differently?
No, not really. We still just did the same practices. They still talked to me and that sort of thing. But I just kind of wonder, are they thinking of me differently, or will they still pass to me and that sort of thing? So.
Did you ask any of them if they were upset with you, or if that play impacted your position in the team or anything like that?
Well, I kind of asked Beth and Desiree because they're both on the team, and they said they didn't really care. But I think it's just because they're my friends. But the other girls, because I don't really know them outside of the team, I just kind of wondered how they were feeling.
So lots of thoughts about how other people may have felt after that play. But it sounds like the thoughts were wondering what people thought, but also having your own thoughts and your own feelings of disappointment.
Yeah. I think so. But I kind of got over it quickly. But it's still kind of something that I think about when I go to practice and stuff.
Well, it's also enough to make your score go a little bit lower too.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm thinking about it more than maybe I thought.
So your accomplishment in your sports is extremely important to you, is what I'm hearing. And that there's really no room for making a poor play or making in my mind, it sounds like a simple mistake, right? It happens. Even professional athletes make the wrong pass or whatever that may be. So it sounds like you passing it to the wrong person is really upsetting you.
Yeah. guess I just feel in the one place that I've always been good, and then you kind of mess it up. So but I guess because the team hasn't said anything to me, it's probably something maybe I've forgotten about, or. But
is there room to make mistakes sometimes, even if it's something they're usually really good at?
I wish I didn't, but I guess some of the other teammates have done the same sort of thing, so maybe that's why they haven't thought about it or mentioned it or that sort of thing.
So why is it, do you think, that in sports, I know that you said that you mentioned that that's kind of that one place that you feel is a strength, so it's something you're good at, but why is it that you feel you can't make a mistake? Or you can't make a wrong pass or do something that, why is that?
Well, I don't know, and then when it happened, I looked up at my foster parents, and they were still, it didn't look like it.
Didn't seem to impact anyone
Yeah.
but yourself.
That's true.
And enough, like I said, to kind of affect your score here today. So you hold a high, it sounds like you hold a really high importance with being perfectly amazing at your sports. That there's no room for kind of, because the way I look at mistakes sometimes is growth and learning. Do you ever see whenever you, maybe, like I said, I'm not very aware with sports, but pass to the wrong person or make a wrong play, do you ever take that as an opportunity to, okay, well I know for next time that I'll do something differently?
Our coach says that, so our coach, she never singled me out or anything, but she does say for the whole team, here's what we're going to work on, because here's what I saw. And they don't ever make it sound like a negative thing. I've seen sports movies where the coaches yell at the people, but our coach isn't like that. She says it's, it's just kind of part of the practice and that sort of thing. So I guess it's a good thing. Well, not a good thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
So I wonder if we can shift a little bit from, oh my goodness, I made this wrong pass, and this is something that's, in a sense, almost taken over because it's brought your score down. So you brought it from last week into this session, and you're still thinking about that. To, okay, it happened. I know how to make that play or do that a bit differently next time. Is that something that you think you could, that we could work on? And I mean, I think that that kind of ties into a lot of the self-talk where we're our thoughts and we can kind of consume our thinking. Is that something that you think you can work on?
Yeah, I think so. I think because our coach has said, she's always said that, we learn from our mistakes in sports, and so I guess I can just listen to that, but she's kind of teaching us as a whole team.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, because I know that last time you said that you like to have things written down for your homework for this week, is kind of, I'm just going to write changing your self-talk.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe looking at when, again, if it's a mistake in sports or, I know that you said that, of course you're really good at is language arts, and maybe if there's a test that comes through and you don't do as well, that instead of having the thought of, oh my gosh, I made a mistake or I did something wrong, to, okay, I can learn from that.
I guess I could do that.
Okay. And what are some ways you think you could do that?
Well, with basketball, after I did that, I went out on the court at the house I live in. We have a basketball hoop, and I just practiced with my foster parents' older boy. Just asked if he wanted to, work on some plays and that sort of thing. So I guess through practicing, that's what coach always says, is to practice the things where we need help. She never makes it sound like a bad thing. So I guess just doing that, working on it so that next time it won't happen, or if it does, just keep working at it, I guess.
And it sounds like something that's also been successful for you is your journaling. So maybe if something happens during the day when you go to write about it at night, instead of I don't know, maybe you write about, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this, to this happened, but this is what I'm going to do next time. Do you find that in your journal? Because I know, so right now we're talking about kind of self-talk, but what about your writing? Can that be quite negative too when something has happened during the day that you feel that you did wrong or a mistake or anything like that?
I think that usually when I write it, it is, but usually I like to look back on things and then just kind of, that's when I'm able to kind of talk to myself in a better way. So, like when I got in a fight with Desiree, I wrote it down, but then I looked at it again after she came over and talked about it. So, but I've never written that part down. So maybe I can just write that down, here's how I was feeling, but here's how it worked out. Because I think about how it worked out and when it works out well, but I don't write that down.
So could this also be something that you would maybe want to work on this week, is maybe writing down positive thoughts, so not just thinking them, but also putting them in your journal, or sometimes people just like to put positive thoughts up in their room, so it's a visual, so whenever those negative thoughts come in of making a mistake or doing something wrong, that it's replaced with, it's okay, you're, positive thoughts.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. What kinds of positive thoughts do you think you could write down? So I'll put an example down so you have it.
So maybe when I've done a good play in basketball. So if I do a bad one, I can look at the times where I actually made a good one. So then it's something good to look at, but because I think I make more good plays than bad ones.
So I would assume since you're on the team. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's probably one we could do. And then just maybe things about other things that I'm good at. So maybe some of the poems that I get big marks on in my language arts class, it might just be good to see them hanging up and
I've added that to the list as well and wrote down the examples you just said. So that's great. And then kind of overall, is there anything else kind of within the week, within these sections that you wanted to chat about, or does this kind of overall score reflect what we've already spoken about?
I think it reflects what we've spoken about and that sort of thing. But it's been nice kind of this week to be friends with Desiree again. So I guess that's overall it was a little bit higher just because last week I kind of knew she was upset and that sort of thing. And it's kind of funny how there's always one thing and then the next week it's another thing. I wonder if that'll ever just kind of all be good.
You know what? That's our hope, is that you'll kind of get to a point where you're able to kind of cope with things in a more positive way, that you're able to come up with your own strategies, and then so when you're in the situations where you're not feeling great about something, you'll be able to figure out how to make it where you want it. Right? So, were there any situations this week, Christine, that you felt that you were able to kind of exercise different strategies on how to kind of deal with anger kind of in the moment? So it sounds like the situation with Desiree, you were kind of upset with the way that you handled that. Was there any other situation throughout the week that you felt that you handled something in a more positive, appropriate way, that you felt that there was a better outcome?
Well, I think with my chores, because I always forget. I always forget when it's, because I have to every other week I have to go in the yard and pick up after the dog, which I really like the dog. I love having the dog at the house. So that's part of my responsibility, because I trade off the weeks with my foster parents' older son, so I forgot, and I got reminded a few times, and usually it would be enough to make me angry, but instead I just kind of said okay, and then I went out and did it, even though I was mad when I said okay. Instead of yelling like I usually would, I just, again, I didn't say any face that I remembered it in my head. I think it helps to say it in my head sometimes. So I just walked away and then did it, and then it was kind of, so it was good. I should remember to do it, but I always forget when it's my week. So, but I think my foster dad appreciated that too. So that was a good one. Because I've done that so many times in the past where I just get mad at him for reminding me so many times. Even though it was only 3, but I would get mad. So this time I didn't, so it felt good.
Great, and you followed through with your expectation, and then I would assume that the nagging naturally stopped.
Yeah, it did.
Great.
The yard was clean.
So the yard was clean. So everybody kind of wins in that situation. So that's good. So do you feel like you're kind of getting to a point where you're able to kind of recognize in yourself when you're becoming angry at something? And I mean, it's hard to come up with a strategy on how to deal with anger because sometimes the situation that you're angry in, the way you cope with it will look different, right? So you're kind of feeling that you're at a place where you're able to at least recognize when you're feeling those angry, frustrated, whatever they may be, the anger feelings.
Yeah, because I walked away and in the yard I kind of talked mad under my breath, but I didn't say it to him, so I think that was good. Because I think I still get mad, but now instead of doing it to the people, I'll do it kind of on my own.
And that's a good point that you just made, that everybody gets mad. Everybody experiences different emotions and feelings and things like that. That's part of being human. But it kind of comes down to how do we cope with that? And it sounds like you're really getting to a place of learning how to cope with things in a more appropriate way. And it sounds like with that outcome, there's more positive things going on around you. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think it's because I read kind of that I need space, so it helps me to look at them all the time. So, like I said, I have that one up on my bulletin board, that I need space, so
those little visual reminders are quite helpful.
Because it goes through my head, and I don't have to say it, and I learned that I don't have to say it to them all the time, like it's good, but just to remind myself, and then so to get mad, when I'm cleaning up after the dog, it's okay to do that, right? So,
and do you find that the feelings chart has helped you kind of, because remember last time we spoke about sometimes when we experience emotions, we can experience 5, 6, 7 different emotions at once. Have you found that the feelings chart has also been helpful with recognizing and being able to target certain emotions?
Yeah, and it helped a lot because I think sometimes I always feel like I shouldn't be feeling that way, but with all those feelings, it makes me feel okay because it's on there, so it must be a normal thing. So.
You're not the only one feeling those things. Right? Lots of people go through different emotions at once, so that's great. Was there anything else during the week, Christine, that you wanted to chat about or go through, anything like that?
Well, I think that pretty much it was okay. I know next week I have a math test that Ruby's been helping me study with, so.
And good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do great.
I think so, because she's helped a lot, so I think it's pretty good.
Great. And it really sounds like, at first I know you're really hesitant towards getting that extra help in math, but it sounds like in that you've developed a good relationship with Ruby. You've been able to participate in basketball, and you're seeing good grades in school, which in turn is affecting your relationship at home because there's less fighting with your teachers, all that. So it's kind of all intertwining with each other to make kind of a more positive outcome, which we're seeing here on your scale, right? You're going up as the weeks goes on, this is exactly what I want to see. So that is very good. So before we wrap up here, if I could get you to fill out the session reading scale, that would be great. Great. So, Christine, is there anything, so I'm just going to quickly go through this scale. So the first one is relationship. So that's either I do not feel heard, understood, or respected, or I felt heard, understood, and respected. Is there anything that you'd like me to do differently within our sessions that would help the relationship, or are you feeling like we've established a quite positive, respectful relationship?
I think it's a really good relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
And goals and topics. So it sounds like you're feeling like we've worked on and talked about what I wanted to work on and talk about. So that's great. And of course, if there's anything else during, we only have one more section left, but please feel free to bring up everything else that you want to go through. An approach and method. Are you feeling like the approach that I'm kind of using within our sessions has been useful and helpful?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I really like the texting one too. That was kind of
great.
Fun that I could do.
Good. And then kind of overall, you feel that today's session was helpful and it was right for kind of you and what you were wanting to talk about? Yeah. Great. Okay. So let's just recap kind of what you want to focus on for this week. So focusing on that self-talk when we do something we didn't want to do or make a mistake, to kind of shifting it to maybe more of a positive thought, and then turning that into when you're journaling as well, to maybe that frequently around practicing more positive writing.
Okay.
And having those positive affirmations around you, or whatever works for you, to kind of shift those thoughts so that they don't stick with you all week and that you constantly think about the things that have gone wrong, and maybe shift it to some more positive things.
Okay.
Okay. Was there anything else?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much.
All right.
See you next week.
Okay.